let's just say we'll peg gold at $10,000 an ounce. It's important to understand that currently that gold revaluation account is on the liability side of the balance sheet. The gold that they own is on the asset side. In other words, the rules are for central banks, you're not allowed to offset liabilities with your gold asset. So they put the mirror image in what's called the revaluation account on the liability side of the balance sheet. Hence, they balance each other out, balance sheet. It would be very easy, and this is what the Dutch central banker is saying, to make their balance sheet go from putrid to pristine like that if they just revalue gold. What is gold worth? It's worth whatever the highest bidder will pay for it. And if China and India and Russia and all of these countries say gold's 10,000 an ounce, who does that benefit the most? Oh yeah, that's the countries that have been buying the hell out of it.
Central banks around the globe are on a gold buying frenzy, hinting at a massive economic shift. Just in the first 4 months of 2024, the Bank of India bought 1.5 times the gold they did in all of 2023, and they've repatriated over 100 metric tons from the Bank of England. They're not alone. Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Germany, and many others are bringing their gold reserves home. Andy Schekman suggests this is leading to a potential revaluation of gold to an astonishing $10,000 an ounce. This could fundamentally alter the global financial landscape and affect your investments in ways we've never seen before. These countries are the most well-funded and well-informed traders on the planet, and their actions are more than just precautionary. They're strategic. Why are they hoarding gold? What are they preparing for?
I think what we are seeing, Jesse, is a growing trend, and we will talk about this, I hope, today as we talk about the BRICS and some new developments that have come out of Novigrad, a meeting that was had a few weeks ago coinciding with the G7 meeting, whereby I believe gold has been remonetized, as has oil, that it is becoming far more valuable than the currency that purchases it. It is becoming, I believe, the cornerstone of a new system, and we will hopefully get into that when we talk about the BRICS. But the amount of purchasing by the central banks is off the charts. These are the most well-funded and well-informed traders on the planet, but it's deeper than that. It's also the repatriation of the gold, and that will also play deeply into what I want to talk to you about as we talk about the BRICS. But just in the last couple of years, or the last couple of months, or the last couple of weeks, depending upon which countries we're talking about, some very interesting developments have happened. And I mean, we can start with the Bank of India, who purchased 1.5 times the amount of gold they did in all of 2023, just within the first 4 months of 2024. They brought it home. They repatriated it. They also simultaneously repatriated over 100 metric tons of gold they've held at the Bank of England since 1991. Now, the Bank of England would give direct access to the London Bullion Metals Exchange. The gold that all the countries have been holding in the New York Fed gives direct access to the COMEX. In the last few weeks, we've seen not only India repatriate that 100 metric tons that they've held in the Bank of England since 91, but in the last few weeks, we saw Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Egypt, Senegal, Ghana, Cameroon, Nigeria, all of these countries and South Africa have repatriated their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. This goes along with a massive gold buying spree by these countries. And before them, you had Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Argentina, the Netherlands, Hungary, Belgium, Romania, Poland, India, as I mentioned, Turkey, France, Serbia, Venezuela, and Czechoslovakia all do the same thing. Now, all of these countries are massively accumulating gold and repatriating it. They are the most well-funded and, more importantly, the most well-informed traders on the planet. And there's a reason that we will get into where you will see this is just the beginning. There is a reason they are all repatriating their gold. And I want, most people would think it's the counterparty risk. Sure, that has a lot to do with it. The fact that the United States has weaponized the dollar in the treasury market certainly incentivizes this, and that is part of it. A country who can say, where our Treasury Secretary says to CNN, listen, we're okay with Xi Jinping and Putin being friends. You know, they are allies in BRICS. And my first thought is, well, geez, that's really benevolent of you, Madam Secretary. But if Xi gives one penny to the Russian war machine, we will sanction their banks, their companies, and Beijing itself. Never mind the fact that we've given $260 billion to the Ukraine, Stinger missiles and F-16 jets, and intelligence on where to fire them because we don't count. We are the world reserve currency. And my thought to that is something that is for now and growing long in the tooth. But when you see all of these countries massively buying gold and repatriating it, and then you see, at the same time, it's interesting too, these central banks, Jesse, are also going deep into debt. And so they're accumulating debt and accumulating gold and repatriating the gold at the same time. And then you get the head of the Dutch National Bank talk about, well, you know, our balance sheet has turned negative, but we don't care. We have 20 billion in notional gold held in our gold revaluation account. Yes, you heard that right. In all central bank balance sheets, gold is held in what's called the gold revaluation account. It is my very, very, very distinct belief that you will see central banks revalue gold to a much higher level. Now, as crazy as that sounds over my shoulder, that's what Roosevelt did. He confiscated gold and devalued the dollar by 40%, thereby revaluing gold by 40%. And if you look at what's happening in China right now, there is an arbitrage play going on where gold is 40, 50 bucks higher, maybe a little less, but silver is over $4 higher than the Western COMEX and LBMA price, or LBMA price, which is incentivizing arbitrage. But what happens if they said, look, you know, he who has the gold and the commodities makes the rules. Let's just say we'll peg gold at $10,000 an ounce. It's important to understand that currently that gold revaluation account is on the liability side of the balance sheet. The gold that they own is on the asset side. In other words, the rules are for central banks, you're not allowed to offset liabilities with your gold asset. So they put the mirror image in what's called the revaluation account on the liability side of the balance sheet. Hence, they balance each other out, balance sheet. It would be very easy, and this is what the Dutch central banker is saying, to make their balance sheet go from putrid to pristine like that if they just revalue gold. What is gold worth? It's worth whatever the highest bidder will pay for it. And if China and India and Russia and all of these countries say gold's 10,000 an ounce, who does that benefit the most? Oh yeah, that's the countries that have been buying the hell out of it. And when you talk about China, if you believe they only have 2,600 metric tons, I have some oceanfront real estate to sell you in Arkansas, because they've been producing 400 to 500 tons a year for the last 25 years. They're the largest producers and importers in the world. For years, they never told anyone how much gold they have. Heck, we don't even tell everyone how much gold we have. Well, we do. It's supposedly 8,300 metric tons, which hasn't been audited in over 60 years. And when Ron Paul says, let's audit, no, turn down. So the point of it is all of these countries who are wickedly buying gold are not being honest about how much they are buying. You have commercial banks in China that work on behalf of the PBOC that buy gold from the refineries in South Africa and in Switzerland. They don't tell the IMF how much gold that they just bought on proxy for the PBOC. You got gold that they buy that's under 995 pure. That doesn't get reported to the IMF. Heck, the IMF came out recently, just a month or two ago, and said that the amount of gold China says they have is fugazi. It's way, way understated. And so my point to you is, why would they want to tell us how much gold they have if indeed they will revalue it? Here's how much gold we really have. And in other words, it would crowd them out of their continual accumulation of gold using the suppression of the Western central bank prices, where on the LBMA, they admit to trading 20 million ounces of gold and 290 million ounces of silver per day. However, they also admit that the numbers that they publish are 10 times understated, because they only show the settlement. If I sell you 100 contracts and I buy 200, the net is 100 for me, but they don't show that I traded 300. So if that really is the case, they're trading 200 million ounces of gold per day and 2.9 billion ounces of silver per day, or 3.5 times annual global mine supply, distorting the hell out of the price in gold and silver. And my point to you is simply this: this is just beginning. And these countries have understood the Achilles heel to the system is standing for delivery. No one ever did before. And the countries in the global south and east were never sophisticated, coordinated, or wealthy enough to do it. Now they are. And they're draining the exchanges, both the LBMA, the COMEX, the ETFs, and even the Shanghai Metals Exchange. They're all being drained. And I would tell you, this is just the very beginning, I think, of where gold ultimately goes. So for those who think they're too late or want to, in this case, take profits, do so at your own peril. I think it would be a very big mistake.